writes about it, with Athens' expanding empire, Thucydides writes, the tyranny that Athens imposed on others, it finally imposed on itself, and that's what killed Athenian democracy. And that's what's killed American democracy. So you talk about Black Lives Matter, the anti-fracking movement, the struggle to raise minimum, that's where hope comes from. It's not going to come from the political vaudeville of elections. As Emma Goldman said, if elections were that effective, they'd be illegal. It's going to come, as it always comes, from the bottom up. We forget that. That's Zinn's great contribution
Howard Zinn, yes.
in the people's history of the United States. He understood the system was designed to shut us out. Slaveholding, white, aristocratic oligarchs who openly embraced genocide against Native Americans on behalf of land speculators, timber merchants, railroad companies, gold mining concerns, who shut out women, Native Americans, African Americans, men without property, created a Senate where everybody was appointed, created the Electoral College because they were terrified of popular democracy. That's how Gore wins 500,000 more votes than George W. Bush, and George W. Bush is president. It had nothing to do with Nader, by the way. And
Gore's refusal to fight.
And his refusal to fight. And so Zinn's, the beauty of that book is that all of the openings in American democracy were created by movements that often paid for it in blood. We had the bloodiest labor wars of any industrialized world.
Yeah.
Hundreds of American workers were murdered. Thousands, tens of thousands were blacklisted. And the Liberty Party, the abolitionists, the suffragists, none of these movements achieved power. But they created pressure on the centers of power so that power had to respond. And that gets to Karl Popper, who in the first volume of The Open Society Its Enemies says, the question is not how do you get good people to rule. That's the wrong question. The question is how do you make the power elite frightened of you? Most people attracted to power, Popper writes, are at best mediocre or venal. And that's what we've forgotten, that those of us who hold fast to justice, it's not our job to take power. It's our job to make power frightened of us. That's what created the New Deal, and Roosevelt's quite open about it in his letters. Roosevelt says, he even says in a 1930 letter, if we don't create social reforms, we're going to have a revolution. He says to his fellow oligarchs, you better give up some of your money now, or you might lose all of your money. And that's how we got 15 million jobs, the public works program, Social Security.
And even those are concessions.
They were all concessions. And Roosevelt says...
significant concessions.
But he says his greatest achievement was that he saved capitalism. And we have to recover those movements, and I see that in Black Lives Matter, in the anti-fracking movement, in all of these groups are not getting any kind of media coverage. And the BDS movement. We are going to bring down Israeli apartheid college by college, church by church, institution by institution. That's how it's going to come.
I know it's getting late. We're going to open it up for questions. How are we doing with time, though, Sister D? You said what? Oh, okay, we better go to questions. Yeah, okay, because I could stay for hours.
We have stayed for hours.
Oh, that's the truth. We want to be kind to you all. Absolutely.
Okay, so here's the first one. How seismic is it that we now have a popular socialist, Bernie Sanders, running for president and talking about the need for revolution?
Well, one is, I do think it's important that there always has to be some connection between the perception of catastrophic conditions and the emergence of a courageous and visionary imagination and praxis that calls for some kind of revolution. Brother Bernie's calling for a political revolution. Now, we need more than that. But he's calling for a political revolution in terms of getting big money out of politics, in terms of breaking up the banks, in terms of free education and single-payer health care. Now, given how far America's moved to the right, that makes Bernie Sanders look as if he's damn near communist.